After having my sister, my parents sent me away. After she failed, they called me 12 years later to prove they're decent parents. My parents abandoned me at 8 and sent me to my aunt. Before age 8, I knew they didn't like me. They had to handle me. With me in their early 20s, just starting their careers, I watched them struggle to build a life while parenting me. Though I recently learned this, I think they resented me. I didn't know why they despised me. Early on, I tried to please them. Nothing worked. My feelings were neglected. They behaved differently with friends and family. They couldn't reveal the horrors. For fear of having them despise me more, they encouraged me to keep silent. Years later, my mental and emotional health plummeted. School was hard and I misbehaved. I don't blame myself for my hard childhood. My behavior would have altered if my parents treated me better. They chastised, grounded, and punished me, but failed. After my teachers complained about my grades, I misbehaved more to get their attention. Be bad if good fails. This plan failed. Mom got pregnant again around my 8th birthday. First time in years, my folks were thrilled. The announcement at my birthday party confused me. I discovered weeks later. My dad told me I was moving in with my aunt while my mom packed my bags. He said it was for my own good because I wasn't doing well. I wasn't stupid. I knew they dumped me. The replacement baby was coming. I had tantrums after heartbreak. I wanted to stay with my family, friends, and parents despite their mistreatment. They ignored my tantrums. I was sent to my aunt's residence out of state. Since the journey was awful, I begged my parents to let me stay. I promised to improve my grades and behavior, but they were set. It hadn't occurred to me that this might not be about my academics or behavior. They might have disliked me, even if I was the best kid. Although my parents helped me settle down at my aunt's place for a few days, I was still upset. But my aunt helped me adjust. She may be the kindest and most caring. Since she never married or had children, my aunt, my dad's oldest sister, reared me. She worked on the farm their parents left them, while her siblings worked elsewhere. So she knew I was upset about moving in. She told me that everything would be okay and that I would appreciate the place once I got to know it. I benefited from her comments. My parents left after 2 days and I broke down. My aunt was my only support. She kept calling my parents to chat to me to feel better, but they rarely responded. Aunt stayed with me for 2 weeks while I cried. Finally, I felt better. Living with her was so good that I stopped missing my parents after a few months. School and farm work improved my situation. I liked teachers, had many friends, and managed academics. My life improved once my parents took me abroad. Despite vacations together, I knew I was better off without them. I was a problematic kid who needed a change, so my parents informed my aunt I was moving in. After several months, I informed her my parents ignored me and mistreated me, and thanked her for taking me in. My aunt changed how she handled my parents. She grew distant and frigid. We played rarely in 12 years, but we saw them at family parties and functions. My enjoyment is better without them, and they don't care. A lack of contact with my 12-year-old sister is probably better. Other family members believe she's not a kind kid. She's a bad-tempered 12-year-old school troublemaker. Parents have that problem, not me. My life is fine. I'm studying business to run the farm after my aunt retires. College is near. It's convenient to visit home every weekend. My parents phoned my aunt last weekend when I was home since they couldn't reach me. After almost 12 years, we finally spoke on the phone. It wasn't pleasant because their request was ridiculous. I was curious when my aunt handed me the phone. After discussing my life, my parents claimed they were proud of my growth. They wanted another attempt at parenthood. They asked me to keep in touch and move in after graduation. I couldn't imagine them requesting this. I wondered why they wanted me back. Then they said my sister did it. They humiliate themselves by saying my sister is even harder than I was. They wanted me to reconnect and show their loved ones they could raise great kids. They wanted to use me to prove they were wonderful parents, not reunite. I think people judge them. My sister is becoming a difficult child like me. Their parenting must be good. Wanting me back is ludicrous, but they expected me to consider it. I informed them on the phone I wouldn't return and wouldn't help them prove anything to their friends and relatives. I told them I was done, and they were. Moving in with my aunt improved my life when my parents failed me. I think they were the issue, not school children. I wasn't raised by them. Thus the claim is false. My aunt worked well. I'd hide her attempts. Many of our family and friends knew my aunt cared for me. Despite that, my parents planned to lie about staying in touch and visiting often. They were alone and I wouldn't propagate this lie. They threw a tantrum, saying they had supported me and my aunt for 12 years. Instead, they sent a little monthly check. My aunt always paid the rest but never complained. They tried to seem supportive with their modest efforts. They told me my sister failed. It was humiliating, so I helped my parents. Then I lost it. I told them they were no longer my parents or relatives. I implored them to leave me and my aunt alone because she was my only family. Update 1. Hi everyone. When I posted 2 days ago, most of you said I'm NTA, which helped me comprehend. My parents tried everything to convince me that what I said was awful the week before, so I doubted myself. They implied I was mean. I didn't think I said anything incorrect. Not impolite. After reading the remarks, I understood they were attempting to get me to comply and return home to show off their parenting. Despite barring them, they keep contacting me from multiple accounts and phones, which is annoying. Aunt told me to ignore it. She said I didn't need to apologize if I was right. She also asked several family members why my parents were suddenly so keen to prove they were good parents. It was then she learned what happened. I heard she smoked 2 weeks earlier during my sister's 12th birthday celebration. She went into a frenzy when my parents tried to take her cigarette, making my mom cry. At the gathering, my mom's older sister, grandparents, and other relatives told her their 12-year-old daughter smoked because of their parenting failure. They stated my parents could have avoided this by being proactive. I've learned my parents spoilt my sister since childhood. She was never denied, given a large stipend, and allowed to do anything she wanted unsupervised. My 12-year-old sister ruled them because she could do anything. Many friends and relatives condemned them for raising daughter inappropriately after the cigarette incident. My parents want me back to prove they're excellent parents. To show their accomplishment, they want to prize me. Their conduct is pitiful. They should realize this won't work because everyone knows my aunt raised me. Even my aunt's contacts opposed my parents' decision to send me away when I wasn't doing well. Help your struggling kids, not ignore them. They regularly recommended my parents to bring me back after my sister's birth to grow up together. Parents ignored it, saying I was better with my aunt and they knew best. Please explain how or if my parents can think of others. They could write off my sister while trying to win me back by calling her a failure. Her 12-year-old age scares me. Counseling may be enough to fix her. I don't need parental guidance. The child they sent me away for to save time, money, and energy for her. However, they reared and treated her this way. They say they sacrificed their oldest child for her, but I doubt they care about us. I doubt my parents were designed to parent. I might resent my sister because she got love, care, and attention from our parents that I never did. Money, time. I feel sorry for her. Something more is needed to raise a child. I'm more astonished my parents failed both kids. I hope they stop contacting and messaging me because my aunt and other family members told me not to talk to them. I'll tell them next time they guilt me. Update 2. I've been silent for a few days, but I'd inform my parents if they guilted me again. They did. They contacted me from a new number 2 hours ago. I was ordered to apologize and go home after being picked up. Today I felt unwell and moody. The phone call made things worse, and I snapped. I yelled at them that I wouldn't apologize because I was right. They weren't my parents. They did nothing to deserve that label. I consider my aunt family because she raised me. I said they hadn't seen me in 12 years. Before that, they ignored me. People who can't tolerate me not considering them as family should blame themselves. Avoid calling me to make me feel bad over something I don't have to do. They interrupted me to emphasize that my aunt raised me and supported me, so we shouldn't forget that. I replied their money hardly covered my expenses. My aunt paid for almost everything, thus my parents' money was wasted. Child support would have been avoided if they kept me. They should stop pretending like giving my aunt money was a huge favor. I said child support was the bare minimum after sending their son to her. She loved the family and hid this from them, even though it may have wrecked their reputation. Money isn't everything, so quit talking about spending. The incident at my sister's birthday party should have taught them. Their selfish brat youngest daughter received money too. My parents failed, not her. They failed us both. They reacted defensively when I mentioned it, not understanding why they thought my sister was pleased. They said her birthday party incident was one time. I know happy kids, especially 12-year-olds, don't smoke because they can. Telling them they were probably trying to convince themselves didn't imply they were raising my sister. They made her mistakes with me, but backwards. They ignored me but lavished money and attention on her. While with her, they mismanaged her. I knew this despite never meeting the child. They had to call me to prove they were good parents, demonstrating they didn't care about their kids. They desired nice parental looks, not parent well. Maybe this was too much truth for them. They shouted, cursed, and stated I had no idea what I was talking about. Their defensiveness and raving confirmed my accuracy. After arguing for a few minutes, they declared they were glad they sent me go years ago. They said they were delighted they chose their daughter since I wasn't a decent son. Maybe they hung up because they thought goodbye would hurt me. I cared not. I was delighted I won because otherwise they wouldn't have resorted to blows. I hope they reconsider fighting or calling me again. Only not helping my sister concerns me. I feel awful since she could exist without my parents' terrible environment. But sometimes you win and lose. Third update. The last time my parents called me was a week ago, which is better for them. I believe they've told my sister's family that her cigarette incident was one time and won't happen again. But nobody is tricked. These may have been her first cigarettes, but who knows what else she's done. My parents were the only ones responsible. This was due to poor supervision and discipline. I rarely judge without knowing, but my parents deserve it. Who abandons one child when pregnant with another? Who? My parents? I'm glad my family is realizing they're broken and staying away. After years of silence, my aunt has revealed why they left me with her. Because they wanted to spend more time with their other child. Not because I was a troublemaker. They rejected me. My parents, not me, made me a problem kid. If it were my fault, I wouldn't have thrived after moving. My aunt hid this for 12 years to protect my parents' image, but now she thinks they deserve it. My parents' defensiveness makes them dreaded. Parenting failure denial is clear. We told everyone my parents abandoned me to my aunt, so everyone knows who they are. They do not deserve my sister or myself. We may be overreacting and shouldn't kick them while they're down. If they hadn't phoned me to help them act like great parents, this wouldn't have happened. They merit it. Update 4 returns after 2 weeks with a significant update. My sister's maternal grandparents are fighting for custody. My parents sent me to live with my aunt, but I've kept in touch with most of my family. I get along with my grandparents. They called a few days earlier to ask about my parents, so I told them. They were glad I finally told them about my parents' abuse. They believed my parents had good reason to send me away for years. Now they know no reason to imprison your child. They apologized for not discovering the truth sooner, and I said fine. Though everyone struggles, I didn't seem hurt. It was hard to know without being informed. My grandparents heard family complaints about my treatment. My aunt finally informed me my parents left me at her house and abandoned me. My grandparents investigated after hearing this. They wanted their younger granddaughter to avoid my fate. After chatting to me, they realized my parents still prioritized appearance over their kids. Then my grandparents sued for custody of my sister to raise her differently. I support the choice. As I left my parents, my life improved and hers would too. They have temporary custody, but my sister doesn't care. Her apathy suggests she'll recover. My grandparents expect full custody soon, but they will let my parents visit. My sister is getting to know me, which is great. Our call was few days ago. I heard our parents told her not to talk to me for years because I was a terrible influence, yet she seems happy to talk to me. Since she's coming around, I hope we can be friends. Future focused.